Coming up, an out-of-state trucking company announces a plan to acquire parts of a Joplin-based contract Fighters Incorporated. We'll have the details for what it means to this local company.
And the Skywatch storm tracker clear in our area again, still showing rain to the south, but there's changes on the way. Your latest forecast coming up.
And Carthage heads back into the classroom yesterday. School officials hope this year is a return to normal.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It is 5 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach.
And I'm Chris Warner. So you wanted to know how the first day of school went yesterday.
Yes, I do.
So, of course, 2 older kids, this is old hat for them. They had a good day. They enjoyed it. You know, they're just back to their routine. The youngest started kindergarten, had a really good day. He explained that his teacher told him to go to sleep and that they played with Play-Doh. And then later, here's the deal though, he was so exhausted from his first day at school. He went to bed at the time that I like to try and get to bed myself, which was very nice. But before he did, he explained to us that his teacher got him in trouble. And I'm like, no, she didn't. She said you had a great day. And then he goes, all the teachers got me in trouble. Uh-oh. About 20 minutes later, he was asleep though. So none of the teachers got him in trouble. But yeah, it was an... He seemed to have a very good day yesterday, so he was really looking forward to going back.
You said the teachers made him sleep? They took naps?
I presume so. I presume that that's what he means, is that they took a nap. I mean...
Oh, to be a kindergartner again.
Oh, no kidding. I could go for a nap right now. It seems like the more sleep I get...
Too early.
No. The more sleep I get, the more tired I am in the morning. Because I slept a good night last night. I'm exhausted this morning. Like, I'm ready to go over there, sit down, and sleep. But if I get like 5 or 6 hours of sleep, yeah, I can't roll out of bed easily. But once I'm up, I'm going. Mm-hmm. I'm energized for the day. So apparently I need to limit the amount of sleep I get. Too much sleep is a bad thing.
Don't fall into that.
I will try not to.
Turn into me.
Here's the deal, though. You've been doing it long enough that I trust what you do as a standard, as the normal. I figure you've got it figured out by now.
I don't know if it's a good thing, though.
All right, that might be true. That might be true. We'll find out. I'll let you know. I'll run an experiment and tell you how it goes. As for your forecast and how it's going to go today, there's that rain off to our south. It's really not doing anything for us right now, so that's all right. It's not bad right now either. 7th and Range line in Joplin is 67 degrees in the city. The light east breeze, not a bad start to the day. Check out some of these cooler temperatures, though. 58 for Fredonia, 58 in Chanute, 59 in the 8th Center, and as you head further south and east, you start to warm up. 66 Columbus, 66 Neosho, and 64 in Anderson. As your kids get ready to board the bus for today, it'll be about 61 degrees for most of us with that light east breeze, partly cloudy skies. And as they get home, it's going to be a bit warmer, but not by much. 87 by 3 o'clock today under partly cloudy skies. We're going to talk about the rest of today's forecast and take a look at the 7-day, which includes some rain chances here in just a few minutes.
All right. Sounds like we got a lot to discuss today.
It's nice to have something in the forecast, so I'm looking forward to talking about it.
All right. Looks good. All right. Thanks, Chris. Well, an Iowa-based trucking company announces its plan to acquire assets of Joplin-based Contract Freighters Incorporated. Heartland Express says the acquisition of CFI is for $525 million. CFI provides truckload services to major customers throughout the U.S., Mexico, and Canada. On Monday, officials say the acquisition by Heartland Express would make the company the 8th largest truckload fleet in the U.S. In a news release, the Heartland Express CEO Michael Gurdon says CFI will continue to operate from Joplin under its own brand and current leadership team. To learn more about the agreement, you can head to our website at koamnewsnow.com. Authorities charge a suspect for a bomb explosion in a dumpster in Parsons, Kansas last week. Officials charged 63-year-old James Sutton with arson and criminal use of explosives, among other charges. The explosion happened around 4:55 last Monday morning in a dumpster in a parking lot outside the Lubbock County Judicial Center. There were no reports of injuries. The decisive statewide Kansas vote in favor of abortion rights has been affirmed through a partial hand recount. 9 of the state's 105 counties, including Crawford County, conducted the recount. Voters on August 2nd rejected a ballot measure that would have removed protections for abortion rights from the Kansas Constitution and given the legislature the authority to further restrict or ban abortion. It failed by 165,000 votes statewide. After the recount, the side that supported the measure gained 6 votes and those opposed to it lost 87 votes. An anti-drug group backs a lawsuit to take a recreational marijuana legalization proposal off of Missouri's November ballot. The suit alleges that marijuana supporters did not gather enough valid voter signatures to put the proposal on the ballot. The lawsuit also claims the ballot measures deals with too many policies in violation of the state constitution. Campaign manager behind the legalization push says the lawsuit is meritless. Well, more than 7,500 students returned to class in Joplin on Monday. And that, of course, includes students at Irving Elementary on McLuhan Boulevard, where we were yesterday morning. Teachers were on hand to greet the returning students and welcome them into a new school year. Some were a little nervous on this first day. Others were more than ready to hit the books.
My favorite subject is math because I've been practicing math for years and I'm really good at it.
Irving also started the year with a new principal, Jordan Atkins, who is the school's former assistant principal. Well, Carthage schools also started class yesterday. According to the assistant superintendent for Carthage School District, they're entering the school year optimistic compared to the past few years. The current plan for COVID is to treat it as another sickness. However, if the cases rise rapidly, the district will be ready to take action thanks to their previous COVID experiences.
That's the other comforting thing is even though none of us want that to happen again, we have done it now. We've done it a couple of times.
Huntley mentions that they are monitoring the situation all the time and ask students feeling sick to stay home. The Seneca School District kicks off the school year today, and while they were prepping for the school year, they found bats in the elementary school gymnasium. Not baseball bats. We're talking about flying mammals. This is common during this time of year where buildings have less human traffic. Missouri Conservation Department recommends using caulk to seal cracks and holes, as well as covering vents with thick hardware cloth.
And we wanted to do it humanely, and it's not something that's easy to get rid of, so we want to do it humanely and safely, and bats are, just honestly, I've learned a lot about bats through this process, but they're an important part of our ecosystem, and being able to get them out of the building in a safe manner to where they can be relocated.
Coming up in our 6 o'clock show, our own Jalen Banks talks to the Missouri Conservation Department to hear more.
Quick check of the forecast for today. It's going to be warmed back up into the upper 80s under partly cloudy skies with a nice east breeze. As we head through the night, temperatures cool off again into the mid 60s with that light east breeze continuing. And a quick check of that 7-day forecast shows where this is the last of the warm days before we start to get into hot territory to wrap up the work week. And then we're watching rain chances through the weekend and into the beginning of the next work week. So nice little breaks here and there still coming our way and pretty seasonable temperatures.
For sure. Well, that's a look at this morning's top stories in weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, the Webb City softball team earns its 3rd straight district title, but with plenty of new faces taking the field for the Cardinals, they still feel like they have plenty to prove. Chris has the details in sports.
Plus, the Seattle Tattoo Expo gathers after a 2-year hiatus for artists and clients alike looking for a permanent form of self-expression.
And a new study says electrical brain stimulation may be beneficial to improve recall in some people. We have the shocking details. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back.
Well, St. Paul Indians are entering their 2nd week of fall football practice. St. Paul has a nice group of upperclassmen returning from a team that was 6-3 overall in 2021. There are 4 seniors on the roster, including returning starting quarterback Trey Peters. Now, Peters threw for 750 yards and 15 touchdowns last season, while also rushing for more than 500 and 5 more scores. He and 3 other talented seniors will try to lead St. Paul back to the top of the Three Rivers League for the first time since 2019.
We had won the league, 5 years in a row before we got knocked off 2 years ago, and then we got second last year. So We'd like to get back up to the top of the league. It's a good, solid league. They're dedicated to trying to make a run at a league championship, and of course you have bigger goals than that, but you know, we can't look past the first game.
I think on the offensive side of the ball, we got some really fast kids. We look really good there. And on the defense, we like to fly around. Our linebackers are really good.
I think our strengths is we got good overall team speed, and I think our leadership at the top is very, very good.
Finally, NFL news here. The Carolina Panthers have named Baker Mayfield their Week 1 starter at quarterback. Former Oklahoma Sooners standout was traded to the Panthers from the Browns back in July and wins the starting job over fellow 2018 first-round pick Sam Darnold. By the way, here's the best part. He gets to face his old team right off the bat with the Panthers hosting the Browns in Week 1. Whip City softball team is just 1 week away from their first game of the season. The Cards will kick off their schedule next Monday at home against Nevada. Whip City is coming off its 3rd straight district championship, but plenty of new faces on the field this fall. The Cards lose 8 of 9 starters from last year's team. The one starter they do get back is sophomore pitcher Lainey Taylor. Taylor will be at the top of what head coach Shauna Friend says will be a young and deep pitching staff this fall.
Lainey's back as a sophomore. She got a ton of experience last year as a freshman, which was really great for her, and she did a fantastic job. So, you know, I expect her to come back in with a lot of leadership and experience, and it's definitely going to be a big shift from last year. I think we've got 7 pitchers out this year, so you know, it'll be great to see, you know, what they can do in the circle and in game time situations, and you know, it'd be really nice having that depth and having that flexibility to, you know, change pitchers.
To the Major League, to Monday's game, Royals put pressure on the White Sox early. First inning, Salvador Perez up the middle. That scores MJ Melendez. Royals up 1-0. 2 batters later, bases loaded. Michael Massey singles off the wall. 1 run scores. It's now 2-0. In the second, not so great news here. It's 4-0, but Vinny Pasquantino flies out. He's in some pain. He would leave the game with right shoulder discomfort. 8th inning, tied at 4. Drew Waters, just called up yesterday, takes ball 4 with the bases loaded, his first career RBI. Royals get the lead with that, and they hold it, winning 6-4. In the National League, St. Louis Cardinals opened the rivalry series last night with the Chicago Cubs. The Cards on a roll right now, winning 7 straight games coming into the night. They won this one too, 1-0 over Chicago. Lone run of the night came on an Albert Pujols solo home run in the 7th. For Pujols, that's career home run number 693. Well, still to come, the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge will move family out of London to give their kids a more normal life. Sources say the move is unprecedented. We'll have the details. Plus, we'll take a look at your forecast when the KOAM Morning News returns. We have a very nice start again this August morning. It is Tuesday. The week's already getting started. It's underway, and it's going to be another pretty decent Tuesday. Right now, at 7th and Rangeline. Temperature's also pretty decent. 67 as we start the day, and that is exactly what it feels like with a light east breeze. All of us starting off pretty decent. Now, you head up to the northwest, and it's a little chillier. Yates Center, 59, 58 in Fredonia and Chanute. And then we start to warm up further southeast, 66 in Parsons and Columbus, 64 Welch, and 63 in Miami. Now, as the kids hop onto the school bus this morning, it's going to be about 61 degrees with that light east breeze and partly cloudy skies. And when that bus does that turnaround and comes back and drops them off for you, 87 under partly cloudy skies. So not bad for August, definitely right where we'd like to be. Now, as we go through the rest of the day, it's going to warm up. We're looking at afternoon highs in the mid to upper 80s yet again under partly cloudy skies. We'll have some clearing this evening and get into those mostly clear skies overnight. Temperatures dropping back off into the mid 60s yet again, which is again pretty nice for August. Now, quick look at the future track. On the short range, there's really not much to show other than some of those passing clouds. It's the long range, which is where we get into our 7-day, where it starts to really heat up. This is Thursday, 4 o'clock. You can see temperatures begin to rise. You see rain all around us as we head into Friday and another hot day in store. It's Saturday into Sunday and Monday that we start to see storm chances increase across the area. Problem is, they don't do anything really for temperatures, as you can see, but we do get some much needed rain out of everything as we head into the upcoming weekend. Now, future feels like, so the nice thing is yes, there's going to be a heat index, but the nice thing over the next at least couple of days is it's only going to be 2 or 3 degrees warmer than the actual air temperature, and the 7 days shows those rain chances this weekend. Otherwise, we're going to be hot and sunny to wrap up the work week. After a 2-year pandemic hiatus, more than 200 artists come together for the Seattle Tattoo Expo. Scott Hobson gives us a look at all the fun.
Today's just a gathering of international tattoo artists celebrating the art of tattoo, spreading the gospel of tattoo, for the lack of a better term. You know, we're just trying to come and see some of my old friends. Tattooing, like, people have been getting tattooed since the fur fell off. You know, human beings are the only animal that wasn't born with colorful plumage, so we had to put on some of our own. There's something inherent about the human experience that wants to hold on to something, to have something, a touchstone to the past.
So this is a tribute piece for Chris Cornell, as a musician that has inspired me my entire life. My first music memory is listening to Temple of the Dog in 1990 at 4 years old on cassette tape in my mom's car.
I am a tattoo artist. A trick I kind of learned in my art career, I went to Washington State University and studied graphic design, is that if you kind of forget it's a face and just look at the shapes, shades, and depth and hue, you know, you can make it look exactly like the picture better.
I had an old mentor tell me that tattoos are nothing more than a memento of an experience.
Quite a few. It's kind of a specialty of mine doing portrait work, so it's something I do pretty often. But that I would highly recommend for anyone looking to get a tattoo, is to look at the person's work and make sure it fits with what you're wanting to achieve. You know, and don't try this at home. That's what I love about my job, is I get to hear some stories.
I've got a tattoo on my leg that was done by the legend Rick Walters right before he died, and he misspelled his own name on my leg while he was bragging about never misspelling a tattoo.
Now, you don't need to go all the way to Seattle for a tattoo, as the four-state area, of course, has an abundance of tattoo shops. That brings us to our something to talk about this morning. Do you have any tattoos? I can answer this question. It's yes or no. Vote, KOAMNewsNow.com/vote. Do so in the app, and of course, take part in the discussion on our Facebook page. We're back with Health Watch right after this.
Topping Health Watch this morning, there's a shocking new discovery that could be unforgettable. According to a study published in Nature Neuroscience, sending electrical currents into 2 sections of the brain appears to improve immediate recall of words for people 65 years and older. Medical officials say it's still too early to tell what this may lead to, but it could be a promising way to treat cognitive impairments like Alzheimer's disease. They say it shows stimulating the brain with small bursts of electricity is safe and could help with memory loss. As students return to school, experts are urging parents to get routine vaccinations for their children amid an overall vaccine decline across the U.S. In the latest numbers for the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, Mandy Gaither has more on why experts say childhood vaccinations are crucial.
The pandemic has affected all aspects of life, including schools and childhood vaccination rates.
If you think back over time, there were diseases like measles, mumps, chickenpox, whooping cough were fairly common. And we no longer see these diseases that often, and that's because of our immunization program.
In CDC data released in April, researchers compared state and local immunization programs across the U.S. in the 2020-2021 school year. They found vaccination coverage decreased by about 1% for all vaccines when compared to the school year before.
That's the first time we've seen a dip like this in a long time.
There you go. Dr. Julie Morita, a pediatrician and member of the CDC advisory committee to the director, says in order to keep vaccine-preventable diseases at bay, we have to keep the level of routine vaccinations high. She says part of the decrease came from doctors' offices not being open during the height of the pandemic.
But on top of that, there was a bit of spillover because parents had questions and concerns about the COVID vaccines. They seemed relatively new. There were questions about safety and the effectiveness of the vaccines. And there may have been a bit of spillover into the other routinely recommended childhood vaccines. While we have strong evidence that COVID vaccines are safe and effective, there's even more evidence and even longer duration of use of these other vaccines. So we know that they're safe and effective and they prevent really serious diseases.
CDC researchers say enforcing vaccination policies and following up with under-vaccinated students are key to improving vaccination rates. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
Well, we are going to have a pretty nice start to the day. Our Skywatch Storm Tracker not showing us anything whatsoever. All the rain still confined off to the south, which is where it's going to stay for the next few days. 7th and Range Line looking really good right now. Temperatures also looking really good, starting the day at 67. We've got some pretty cool spots out to our west as well. We're talking Fredonia, Chanute, Yates Center, all at 58 this morning to start the day. We're looking at like October, late September temperatures here, and it's August. So not bad at all. A little bit warmer as you head south and east, 63 Grove and Miami, 66 in Bentonville, and 64 in Anderson. As the kids get on the bus this morning, it will arrive with cool temperatures, 61 under partly cloudy skies. And when it drives back down your road, bring the kids home, we're looking at 87 at about 3 o'clock with those partly cloudy skies. Going through the rest of the day, afternoon highs pushing the mid to upper 80s. So not bad whatsoever. And as we go into tonight, temperatures will drop back under mostly clear skies back into the mid 60s, maybe even some lower 60s again. Then we really start to heat up come tomorrow, 95 Wednesday and Thursday and Friday. And then we're watching storm chances for the weekend and the start of the next work week. We've got more of the KOAM Morning News right after this.
Coming up, an out-of-state trucking company announces a plan to acquire parts of Joplin-based CFI. We'll have details for what it means to this local company.
Another nice day ahead of us, but we're watching rain chances this weekend. We'll break it all down coming up.
And Carthage heads back into the classroom this weekend. School officials hope this year is a return to normal.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It is now 5:31. I'm Tanya Buck.
I'm Chris Warner. So it is shaping up to be another really lovely day, considering that it's August. I mean, we're coming up on the end of August. Dog days of summer. It's usually considerably hotter. So we'll certainly take this, but it's going to heat up as we head into the next, about 12 hours or so. Well, hold on. Being this early in the morning, my times are all messed up. Let's say in the next 36 hours, it's going to start to get hot. Right now, though, it is really pleasant. 7th and Range Line, clear skies. It is 67 degrees in Joplin. We do have some cool spots out there, though. Check out Fredonia, Yates Center, and Chanute at 58 degrees to start the day. 59 in Fort Scott, 65 in Lamar, and 67 in Carthage. Now, as kids get on the bus, we're looking at lower to mid-60s. To board the bus, so maybe a light jacket, but they're certainly not going to need it later today because we're looking at highs pushing the mid to upper 80s as they get off the bus. Quick look at today's forecast. As you can see, partly cloudy skies. Dry conditions prevail across the area. The light east breeze, those highs again pushing the mid to upper 80s. Mostly clear skies tonight. Cooling back off into the mid to maybe even some lower 60s for some of us with that light east breeze prevailing. As we take a look, this future track is a little bit shorter term, and all it does is show us some of those partly cloudy skies. It's the long range that we want to look at, because as we head into the weekend, first off, as you can see, it's going to start to get hot, and it's also going to start to rain and bring us some thunderstorm chances starting Saturday and leading into the beginning of the next work week. We'll take a look at the 7-day forecast and talk more about those rain chances here in a few minutes.
All right. Yes, we need the rain. We always need the rain, and usually it brings us a little bit cooler temperatures.
Generally, but this round does not look necessarily to do that, unfortunately. But we'll still keep an eye on it. Maybe we'll get lucky and get temperatures knocked down a little bit. But it's August, so it's got to be hot at some point.
Yes, it does. All right. Thanks, Chris. Well, an Iowa-based trucking company announces its plan to acquire assets of Joplin-based Contract Freighters Incorporated. Heartland Express says the acquisition of CFI is for $525 million. CFI provides truckload services to major customers throughout the U.S., Mexico, and Canada. On Monday, officials say the acquisition by Heartland Express would make the company the 8th largest truckload fleet in the U.S. In a news release, the Heartland Express CEO, Michael Gurdon, says CFI will continue to operate from Joplin under its own brand and current leadership team. To learn more about the agreement, you can head to our website at koamnewsnow.com. Missouri Southern kicks off the new school year with its annual picnic on Monday, offering a free lunch for students, faculty, and staff. It's part of a busy week of activities to reacquaint everyone with the campus, organizations, opportunities, and each other.
It's an opportunity for us, one, to showcase what we have to offer, but also for these students to get engaged and get involved, and ultimately create experiences for them to, enjoy themselves while they're here at Missouri Southern. That's what it's all about, making sure that they find a home here, enjoy themselves, and carry that through till graduation.
This morning, the university is offering free donuts and coffee to students from 7:30 to 9:30. Carthage schools are more optimistic than before about the upcoming school year. KOAM's Yana Hatula has more.
Kindergarten year, school shut down in March and never came back. Their first grade year was the first year of COVID, and everyone was masked and quarantines, massive amounts of quarantines. And then last year, the spread of the disease got so bad that we had to shut down schools for days at a time.
For this year's third graders, there have always been COVID-19 precautions. Now that the school year is seemingly back to normal, hopefully kids can begin to enjoy their school experience.
We will monitor the situation, and just like we have done over the last couple of years, make adjustments if we need to as the year goes.
If cases skyrocket, schools are prepared to deal with the change thanks to their previous COVID experiences.
That's the other comforting thing, is even though none of us want that to happen again, we have done it now.
Huntley mentions it is important for the teachers to have kids sitting in classroom in front of them to maximize the learning experience.
We can provide work for them, but not being in the class makes it at least doubly as difficult to learn.
Students and faculty have hope for the upcoming year.
For the first time in a couple of years, we enter the school year pretty optimistic.
In Carthage, Janna Hautala, KOAM News.
Huntley says COVID is now treated as another sickness. If students are feeling sick, they should stay home. And I have one of those kindergartners who's now a third grader who's never really got to experience what school's supposed to be like because of COVID.
That's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
When you think about that, but we're starting to finally get back into the swing of things, which is good. So I've got the kindergartner who's actually going to experience school the way it's supposed to be. Hopefully.
That's good. That's
hopefully.
Good. Yes.
Quick look at the long-range forecast. We were talking about rain chances this weekend. So as we head into Friday, you start to see them around us, but not on us. And it's by Saturday and Sunday and even into Monday that you see scattered thunderstorm chances building across the area. But you also see, because they're scattered, they don't do a lot for temperatures, unfortunately. Still staying hot, but seasonable. And rest of this week, though, hot as well under partly cloudy skies.
Well, this morning we are discussing tattoos. After a 2-year hiatus, more than 200 artists gathered at the Seattle Tattoo Expo. But for people right here in the 4 states, there are plenty of tattoo shops if you're interested in body art. For many folks, tattoos are a personal form of self-expression. It's common to see tattoos of portraits of loved ones and beloved pets, or even celebrities or musicians that may have touched a person's life through their art. It's also common to see beautiful or interesting designs that are simply aesthetic purposes. And then there's the whimsical and the what the heck tattoos that leave you scratching your head. But to the owner, you can be sure it has some significance.
So that brings us to our something to talk about this morning. Our question, do you have any tattoos? Yes or no? And you just watch those numbers update live there. 40% of you say yes. 60% of you say you do not. I am in the do not category.
I'm actually in the yes category.
See, there's a 50-50 split here at the KOAM studios. So help us break that little tie by voting. KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. You can do so in the app. And of course, take part in discussion. Maybe share some tattoo photos, appropriate tattoo photos, on our Facebook page.
Appropriate is key.
Appropriate is the key.
Please.
We're talking maybe your shoulder or arm tattoos. We're We're not talking about other tattoos in other locations.
All right, that's a look at our top news stories. Coming up this half hour on the KOAM Morning News, it's history in real time as parents take their children to view destroyed Russian tanks on display on Main Street in Kyiv, Ukraine, just a day before the country celebrates its independence from the Soviet Union 31 years ago.
Plus, it's one small step for man, one giant step. A team of artists and scientists who've designed a house with Martian habitation in mind. Yeah, I'll tell you about that.
You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. Is Matt Damon there? We'll be right back. Topping World Watch, Australia and federal police seized more than 5 million doses of fentanyl. That's the largest shipment of the opioid ever found in the country, according to officials. The drugs were hidden in an industrial machine that arrived at the port of Melbourne last December from Canada. The Australian Border Force found the shipment in February and launched an investigation. They are still searching for information about the source of the drugs. Fentanyl is a highly addictive painkiller, up to 100 times more potent than morphine. At least 66 people have been killed across 3 provinces in Afghanistan. Provincial officials say these videos show the destruction after floods ripped through homes. In Ghazni, at least 900 houses were completely or partially damaged. And that's according to the Information and Cultural Department. 5,000 acres of land were also destroyed. Well, dozens of destroyed Russian tanks on display in Main Street in Kyiv, Ukraine. Residents stopped by to view the weaponry, and some parents even brought their children to take a look. They say history is being made right now, and the display represents an important learning experience. This comes as Russia's war in Ukraine will reach its 6-month mark on Wednesday. Same day Ukraine marks the 31st anniversary of its independence from the Soviet Union. Public celebrations have been banned due to concerns they could be the target of Russian attacks. Well, a big royal move. A source is telling CNN that the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge are leaving London in an attempt to give their kids a, quote, normal life, and are moving the family out of London. Max Foster has more.
In royal terms, at least, this is pretty unprecedented. The heir to the throne and the Duchess of Cambridge are taking their children out of their schools in London, out of Kensington Palace and its many rooms and its many members of staff, and they're moving into a 4-bedroom cottage in the rural idyll of the Queen's Windsor estate outside London. They're going to sign their children into a new school, Lambrook School, a prestigious fee-paying school nearby, and they say they want to be hands-on, involved parents. This is a lifestyle change in many ways for them. They won't have any live-in staff. They will have access to the wider royal estate staff, but this is a big change for them and does signify how they want to carry their royal lives forward. According to a royal source I spoke to, they just want their family to have as normal a life as possible.
That's a look at some of your biggest headlines from around the world. We'll be right back with the news you need to know before you head out the door. Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. Reports of a disturbance inside the Ottawa County Jail Monday evening. Authorities say 3 pods were involved in a disturbance, which began as inmates were upset over interruption of phone service, which occurred due to technical difficulties. After authorities dismissed several supporting police agencies, they were called back after inmates set a trash can on fire. The fire was put out safely. You can go to our website at KOAMnewsnow.com for more details as this story develops. Authorities charged a suspect for a bomb explosion in a dumpster in Parsons, Kansas last week. Officials charged 63-year-old James Sutton with arson and criminal use of explosives, among other charges. The explosion happened around 4:55 last Monday morning in a dumpster in a parking lot outside the Lebec County Judicial Center. There were no reports of injuries. The decisive statewide Kansas vote in favor of abortion rights has been affirmed through a partial hand recount. 9 of the state's 105 counties, including Crawford County, conducted the recount. Voters on August 2nd rejected a ballot measure that would have removed protections for abortion rights from the Kansas Constitution and given the legislature the authority to further restrict or ban abortion. It failed by 165,000 votes statewide. After the recount, the side that supported the measure gained 6 votes, and those opposed to it lost 87 votes. City of Monette, Missouri says some residents can expect to see some unusually high prices from July. They say it's due to a combination of extremely hot weather and very high market prices affecting the power cost adjustment. The August power cost adjustment for the next bill will be about 40% lower than the current bill, which means customers can get a credit back. Customers can help by raising their thermostats during the day, especially in the 1 to 6 p.m. time period, as that's the highest priced market power. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
And as you head out the door in the 4 states day, it is quite nice as we start. It's hard to believe it's August. 67 in Joplin right now with a light east breeze. We've got places that are even cooler. We're checking out Fredonia, Yates Center, Chanute. 58 in Fort Scott as well. Further south and east, a little warmer. 66 Columbus, 67 Neosho, and 64 in Cassville. Now as the kids get on the bus when it arrives this morning, 61, lower 60s for most of us under partly cloudy skies. And when that bus makes its return trip, about 3 o'clock today, we're looking at 87 and partly cloudy skies. As we go through the rest of today, all of us pushing highs in the mid to upper 80s, maybe close to 90, maybe even a lower 90 or 2 out there. Partly cloudy skies otherwise with a light east breeze. Going into tonight, get mostly clear skies, temperatures back into the 60s yet again with that light east breeze eventually becoming calm. Now, the future track on the short range just shows us some of those partly cloudy skies as we go through the next couple of days. It's the longer range forecast that shows us rain chances that'll start to build in as we head into Friday night and Saturday. So still pretty hot, but as you can see, increasing scattered storm chances across the area, which is something we need. And you can also see that on the 7-day where we get hot Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And then as we head into the weekend, maybe a little cooler, maybe not. We're watching the temperatures, but one thing we've got going for us is scattered storm chances. We'll be back with more of the KOAM Morning News right after this.
Ever wonder what your house would look like if you lived on Mars?
I've been more interested in what it'd be like to just live on Mars. Well, a team of artists and scientists are now revealing a model home they say could be the perfect sustainable space for dwelling on the red planet.
Interesting. Ashley Strohmeyer takes a closer look.
While the housing market on Earth remains a little dicey, a new project is giving us a glimpse of what our future homes may look like on Mars.
This is a place for people to think about future living.
Located in Bristol, England, a team of artists are unveiling their rendition of a typical Martian home after spending 7 years working with scientists, space experts, and engineers to research the best ways we can live sustainably on the red planet.
It's gold to reflect dangerous solar rays and cosmic radiation, and it's inflatable because it would be filled with a special concrete made of the dust and water that you find on Mars.
The Golden Dome will be the top of the 2-story complex. It'll serve as the main living space and a hydroponics center where special plants can grow to assist with health and wellness.
Underground in the amazing lava tubes which exist under the surface of Mars, that's where the bedrooms and bathrooms would be.
The second level of the home is where things get a little more compact.
In here is your bedroom. They're tiny. This is your only private space in the whole house. This is where you keep your things, you do some work, and then over here is the toilet.
Meanwhile, the home will also feature solar panels for power and be able to withstand temperatures of negative 81 degrees, which is standard on Mars. To build a home that can function in those conditions, architects turn to the Arctic for inspiration.
The Martian home officially opens its doors to visitors at the end of this month.
And it'll remain open until mid-October. Unfortunately, it's not actually on Mars right now.
And Matt Damon does not live in it.
No, he does not. But man, The Martian is one heck of a good movie.
Oh, I know. I missed it. Was there a place to grow potatoes in this one?
In this one, I didn't happen to see a place to grow
Possibly
potatoes.
in the bathroom.
But it's what we learned is that's probably the best way to start, at least, is run to the restroom and you can start growing some potatoes. How about that? Does it really work that way? We'll have to ask our local farmers how they grow potatoes. We got another check of your forecast right after this. So we've got a pretty nice start to the day for us, especially considering that it is still August. 7th and range line is looking clear. It's looking nice as we start the day, and the temperatures are matching that. 66 in Joplin with a light east breeze. We got some really chilly spots that we've been watching out west. So we're talking Fredonia, Chanute, Yates Center, and Fort Scott. 58 degrees. There's no need to adjust your calendar. It is still August, believe it or not. 66 Columbus, 63 Miami, and 67 as we start the day in the O Show. Now, as the bus, you got to watch out. You don't want to walk right in front of one like I did. As it comes to pick up your kids, lower 60s as the bus stops off this morning. And then when it returns, it's going to be about 87 degrees come 3 o'clock. So we are on track for a warm day. The forecast for today shows those partly cloudy skies. They'll eventually start to clear out a little bit later this evening. Afternoon highs pushing the mid to upper 80s, maybe even a couple of lower 90s out there. Mostly clear skies as we go through the night. Temperatures dropping back off into the 60s with that light east breeze. Not too bad. A quick look at the short-term forecast. There's not a lot to show on the short term because it only covers a couple of days. The only real thing it shows is some of those partly cloudy skies. It shows us having another decent night ahead of us, and then it's going to show us really start to warm up tomorrow, which we'll talk about as well. The other thing that we're watching is what's heading into this weekend. That's on the long-range forecast. Now, initially, you can see as we head into Thursday and Friday, there's rain all around us, but not right on us. And then as we get into the weekend, we have increasing scattered storm chances, which you can see on the long range. So as we go into Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, it's going to be sunny, it's going to be hot, and then we're watching those increasing rain chances Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. More of the KOAM Morning News after this.
Coming up, authorities charge a man in relation to the bomb explosion near the Labette County Judicial Center.
Partly cloudy skies and warming up a bit today, but there are changes on the horizon. The latest coming up.
And while preparing for the school year, the Seneca School District finds bats in the elementary school gym.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It is 6 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach.
I'm Chris Warner. You know, I think the best way to get rid of those bats, call Ozzy Osbourne. Bats are scared of Ozzy. We all know why.
Bats are good, though. They keep the mosquitoes away.
I don't think that that's going to be a significant concern in the gymnasium.
Well, nobody wants to get bit by a mosquito while they're watching a game or playing sports because you get sweaty. And that attracts bugs.
I mean, in the gym. But on the other hand, if they have bats in the gym, then I would suspect there might be a way for mosquitoes to get in. But if they get rid of the bats,
I'm sure that's where they were just sleeping, and then at night they would go out and find their food and then come back in.
Yes, but you see that's the whole problem is they had a way in. We don't have any bats in here because we have a pretty airtight building.
No, but we've had birds in here.
That is true. We have had birds.
When they fly around in the lights, yes, that's always fun.
Birds and bees. Ironically, coincidentally. I'm not really sure.
A discussion you'll have to have with your boys someday.
I'm not looking forward to it. I remember the one that my dad had with me, and it was the most intriguing and enlightening discussion I've ever had in my life. But
how'd we get from bats to the birds and bees discussion?
Because we were talking about how bats got into the gym, and then we said, well, we don't have bats. We get birds, and then I mentioned that we also get bees.
Yeah.
We've had wasps in here. There was one, Jalen Banks was here. I think he was filling in for you. And I was filling in for Michael Hayslip, and this wasp got in during the noon, and he's chasing myself and Jalen and our news assistant Malik around the studio during the noon, like in commercial breaks and stuff. That bee was literally chasing us. I don't remember what happened to it though. It all started, he was in a light over at the green screen, and all of a sudden here he comes, and he decided, you know what? Watch what I can do. We don't like bees here. Honeybees are different. All the other bees.
You're highly allergic, aren't you?
No.
No, you just don't like
them? I don't believe so. I just don't like them. I've only ever been stung twice. That's how much I avoid bees. I don't mess with bees.
Yeah.
But like I said, honeybees, though, they're not bad. They do serve a vital function. And also,
there are no flowers in the studio.
So that's why we don't have honeybees.
Yeah.
And honeybees are pretty docile. Like, you can get right up to them. Sometimes you can even pet them. Because they don't want to die. Now, wasps, some of them, they can sting you and they live, so they'll sting you several times.
Very true.
Bees do not. So unless you're just really aggravating a honeybee, it doesn't want to die. And I understand that. And that's why I don't mind honeybees. They're not so bad.
How's the weather outside for pollinating?
The weather outside is good for pollinating. Look at it. It's pretty clear out there right now. You can see some clouds as the sun slowly starts to peak up. 66 degrees in Joplin. We've been checking out those cool spots out west. I still can't get over it for August. 58 in Fredonia, Chanute, and Fort Scott, and Yates Center. 59 in Sedan. Then we got 65 Columbus, 65 in Anderson, and 64 in Cassville. The bus stop forecast, it's back. It's alarming because here comes the bus. That means we're in school now. 61 as the kids get on the bus this morning when it brings them back. Partly cloudy skies, 87 around 3 o'clock. We do have a warm day in store for us and a big warm up and then some rain chances. So that's at least 3 different things we have to talk about. So we'll do all that here in a few minutes.
All right, sounds good. All right, well, we have a developing story out of Ottawa County this morning. Reports of a disturbance inside the Ottawa County Jail Monday evening. Authorities tell us 3 pods were involved in a disturbance, which began as inmates were upset over an interruption of phone service, which occurred due to technical difficulties. Authorities dismissed several supporting police agencies, but they were called back after inmates set a trash can on fire. Now, that fire was put out safely.
The electricity from the storm knocked out our phones and our kiosk in there, to where the inmates couldn't make phone calls or do video visits with people. So it's been kind of stressful for the past few days. Well, when we come in today, we start calling the companies that's supposed to get it fixed. Well, they wasn't able to get it fixed.
There were no reports of any injuries, but 1 man was transported to the hospital for unrelated reasons. Once again, this is a developing story, and we will continue to update it on our website at koamnewsnow.com. An anti-drug group backs a lawsuit to take a recreational marijuana legalization proposal off of Missouri's November ballot. The suit alleges marijuana supporters did not gather enough valid voter signatures to put the proposal on the ballot. The lawsuit also claims the ballot measure deals with too many policies in violation of the state constitution. Campaign manager behind the legalization push says the lawsuit is meritless. The decisive statewide Kansas vote in favor of abortion rights is affirmed through a partial hand recount. 9 of the state's 105 counties, including Crawford County, conducted the recount. Voters on August 2nd rejected a ballot measure that would have removed protections for abortion rights from the Kansas Constitution and given the legislature the authority to further restrict or ban abortion. It failed by 165,000 votes statewide. After the recount, the side that supported the measure gained 6 votes, and those opposed to it lost 87 votes. Authorities charged a suspect for a bomb explosion in a dumpster in Parsons, Kansas last week. Officials charged 63-year-old James Sutton with arson and criminal use of explosives, among other charges. The explosion happened around 4:55 last Monday morning in a dumpster in a parking lot outside the Labette County Judicial Center. There were no reports of injuries. Seneca School District kicks off the school year today, and while they were prepping for the school year, they found bats in the elementary school gymnasium. Now, not baseball bats. We're talking about flying mammals. This is common during this time of year when buildings have less human traffic. Missouri Conservation Department recommends using caulk to seal cracks and holes, as well as covering vents with thick hardware cloth.
Is you need to make it so the bats can fly out, but they can't fly back in. And this is all situationally specific, depending on what kind of hole they're getting in, out, and back in.
There are 15 bat species in the state of Missouri, the most common being the large brown bat. Well, these days you think twice if something says free. Well, usually there's tons of fine print, but there is a fair in Lamar, Missouri. It's free, and it's officially called the Lamar Free Fair. Events like preteen and teen pageant, hobby show, and art exhibit have already kicked off. Wednesday, the carnival and rides will open.
Have all come to my husband afterwards and said, "This is so much fun, please do it again." And that's all it takes. And so as long as they're enjoying it and coming and participating, then he just keeps doing it.
Theme for this year's fair is Summer Fun. On Monday, Missouri Southern kicked off the new school year with its annual picnic, offering a free lunch for students, faculty, and staff. It's part of a busy week of activities to reacquaint everyone with the campus, organizations, opportunities, and each other.
It's an opportunity for us, one, to showcase what we have to offer, but also for these students to get engaged and get involved, and ultimately create experiences for them to, enjoy themselves while they're here at Missouri Southern. That's what it's all about, making sure that they find a home here, enjoy themselves, and carry that through till graduation.
Well, this morning, the university is offering free donuts and coffee to students from 7:30 to 9:30. No, you cannot go pretend
I was
to be
going
a
to say,
student.
I think I'm a student right now because I could really go for some free coffee and free donuts.
Mm-hmm.
I was a student. Should apply to alumni too, so we can educate these future students on the greatness of going to college.
That's very true. Well, the star of the silver screen, Rudolph Valentino, dies. The death of silent screen idol Rudolph Valentino at the age of 31 sent his fans into a hysterical state of mass mourning. In his brief film career, the Italian-born actor established a reputation as the archetypical screen lover. After his death from a ruptured ulcer was announced, dozens of suicide attempts were reported, and the actress Paula Negra, Valentino's most recent lover, was said to be inconsolable.
Tens of thousands of people paid tribute at his open coffin in New York City, and 100,000 mourners lined the streets outside the church where the funeral services were held. Valentino's body then traveled by train to Hollywood, where he was laid to rest after another funeral.
Oh, wow.
More than one funeral.
Sad time.
31's a pretty young age to go, too.
For real. All right, that's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, we've got local author Miranda Collins stopping by our studio to talk about her debut novel.
Plus, former President Trump's lawyers want to put a halt on the FBI's review of documents found in the former president's home.
And why eating breakfast in the morning is good for children and young adults. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back.
Topping Nation Watch this morning, lawyers for former President Trump asked for a timeout in the FBI's review of documents recovered from his Florida estate until a neutral third party can be appointed to inspect the records. It comes as the New York Times reports that the government has recovered more than 300 documents marked classified from the estate since Trump left office. That includes more than 150 retrieved by the National Archives in January. Bradley Blackburn reports from New York.
In a new court filing, lawyers for former President Donald Trump are asking a judge to block the FBI from looking at the materials seized in the Mar-a-Lago search until a neutral third party can be appointed to oversee the review. The so-called special master the Trump legal team is calling for would take on the responsibility of setting aside documents covered by executive privilege.
We're going to come out swinging and say, look, this cannot be something where we just get a kind of a wink and a nod from DOJ that we're supposed to trust them.
Monday's maneuver is part of a federal lawsuit filed by the former president's legal team in response to the hours-long search of his Palm Beach estate 2 weeks ago.
It could give him a little more comfort. It could keep his side of things in the news. So I think in terms of the rhetoric around it, the politics behind it, it might help Donald Trump.
The day of the search, agents seized boxes including 11 sets of classified documents, some marked top secret. This all comes as the Justice Department faces a Thursday deadline to submit a redacted version of the affidavit that led to the search warrant.
They have to go through it not only sentence by sentence and paragraph by paragraph, but word by word, because every redaction they make, if they don't redact completely, it's going to lead people to speculate.
The Justice Department opposes the release of the affidavit, saying it could compromise the investigation. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News.
The motion that former President Trump's legal team filed Monday also includes a claim that he is the front runner for the 2024 Republican nomination. That highlights how politics is making its way into the ongoing investigations surrounding the former president. That's a look at one of today's top national stories. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. Joining me this morning, local author Miranda Collins. So excited to have her in studio. She's got a book signing coming up for her debut novel, On the Run. This is, I started reading this, and it's an exciting book. It really
Thank
is.
you.
And it has a lot of references to our area as well.
It does.
Do you want to start off talking to us about like the synopsis of the book, I guess?
Sure. I decided it was time for us to have an exciting story that takes place in the Midwest. It seems like stories always take place on the East or the West Coast.
They do,
So I thought
yeah.
it's going to be exciting to have this set in Kansas, Missouri, Oklahoma. And it's a thriller with a lot of suspense and intrigue that follows a cop who's forced on the run after her and her grandfather are targeted for assassination by the most powerful company in the world. And circumstances necessitate that she works with a stranger, although she doesn't know if she can trust Jarrett Barber because he's a dangerous former Navy SEAL and his loyalty's questionable. So she's running for her life, trying to keep herself and her grandfather safe, and she realizes that in this dangerous game of cat and mouse, the only way she's going to be able to keep them safe is to strike back at the company. So she devises a plan, but it's risky and the cost of failure is high.
Yes, and of course she builds a relationship with that former Navy SEAL.
She does. And at that point, not only is her body at risk, but her heart is at risk as well.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's one thing I like about a lot of suspense novels, when they throw in that hint of romance in there as well. But I'm cheesy like that. So.
Yes, yeah, my primary goal was thriller suspense to make it appeal to a broad audience, but a hint of romance is always good in a book like this.
Mm-hmm.
And it is book 1 in the series.
Mm-hmm.
I'm currently working on book 2, and I'm just finishing up the first draft. So I'm having fun with the Sadie characters, and Sadie and Jarrett and Grandpa have a future in the series.
Okay, and that's what I was going to ask. It is, on the cover it says a Sadie Lynch novel, so you've got other ones planned.
I do.
That's exciting.
I do, yep. It's a great progression of growth for the characters, and she sees some of herself in Jarrett and realizes there's some things she needs to work on. And what I love about Sadie is that she's brave, she's confident, she's capable. I get a little annoyed occasionally when the lead female always needs saved, and so I wanted to write a lady who was capable in her own right.
Mm-hmm. I did see that. There's a lot of female empowerment in this book too, so that's awesome. Now let's talk about your Midwest local connections that you have in here.
Yep, so there's a stop in Joplin at the mall as she's chased. There's references to Grand Lake. There's a stop in Parsons. Most of the story actually takes place in Manhattan on the Kansas State campus. There's some fun little aspects in there that a lot of people aren't aware of that are unique to K-State that Sadie actually capitalizes on in order to evade her capture. And so I just thought it was time for something exciting to happen here because we always see those taking place, in West or East Coast.
And you yourself are from this area as well?
I am, yep, from Chanute.
From Chanute. So where did you come up with the idea or the inspiration for Sadie's character herself?
Yeah, so I was looking for someone that we could show the female empowerment, and I wanted to show that she had some issues to overcome. She's got some grief in the past. She kind of closed in on herself. And we see that sometimes. People will experience some kind of grief or trauma and they just fold in, or maybe they'll just focus on their career. So Sadie's been focused on her career. When she's forced out of it, she has to reflect on where she's been at in life, how she's dealt with that grief. And she sees some of that reflected back in Jarrett because he's had some trauma in his life as well. The grandfather character in the story is sort of loosely based on my own grandfather. The perpetual frown, military background, those types of things. There's no one in there that's necessarily a real life person, but I did draw some inspiration from people in my life.
That was what I was going to ask. Okay, so if you would like to get a copy of this, how can you access that? And where can people find you for your book signing?
Yes, so the book is available on Amazon, but this Saturday from 1 to 3, I'll be at Always Buying Books, and I'll have copies for sale. I'll be signing those. I highly encourage you to pick those up there and support them. They are great about supporting local authors. I think they've done over 500 local author signings.
Wow.
And it's a treasure trove of amazing books. So come out, see me. We'll get to talk about the book and about characters and the future for the series, and I'll have those available for signing.
All right, that sounds wonderful. And if you don't mind sticking around later in the show, I'd like to talk to you about your inspiration to become a writer and that process as well.
Sounds good.
All right, we'll be right back.
Thanks.
Topping Health Watch this morning, federal health officials are investigating an E. coli outbreak after that sickened dozens of people. Astrid Martinez has more.
Fast food chain Wendy's is pulling romaine lettuce from its sandwiches in some restaurants while an E. coli outbreak is investigated. Nearly 40 people have now been infected with the outbreak strain E. coli 0157 in 4 states, with most of the cases from Michigan and Ohio. At least 10 people have been hospitalized, including 3 in Michigan with a type of kidney failure. The CDC says people should call their healthcare provider if they have severe E. coli symptoms, such as diarrhea that lasts for more than 3 days, or diarrhea accompanied by a fever higher than 102, bloody diarrhea, or so much vomiting that you cannot keep liquids down. A specific food has not been confirmed as a source of the outbreak, but most people have reported eating sandwiches with romaine lettuce at Wendy's restaurants before getting sick. A different type of romaine lettuce is used in salads. The CDC is also asking for the public's help. If you have E. coli symptoms, write down what you ate in the week before you became ill and report the illness to your local or state health department. Astrid Martinez, CBS News.
There's no evidence at this time that the romaine lettuce sold in grocery stores is connected to this outbreak. And it's not only important to eat breakfast, but new research says it's also important where young people eat it and what they eat. A study in Spain shows that eating breakfast at home is linked with fewer behavioral problems in kids and teens. Findings published in Frontiers in Nutrition suggest that this may be because meals away from home are frequently less nutritious. Let's look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. Quick check of that forecast. Look at that sunrise, 7th and Rangeline. A beautiful day shaping up for us, and it's a beautiful start to the day. 66 in Joplin as we begin this Tuesday morning. And we've been watching some cool spots out west. Fredonia, Chanute, and Fort Scott at 58, 59, Yates Center and Sedan. We got 63 Miami, 64 Neosho, and 61 in Monette. As the kids get on the bus this morning, it's going to be 61 about 7 o'clock this morning under partly cloudy skies, and we're going to be hitting about 87 by the time that bus returns. And as we go through the rest of today, temperatures pushing the mid to upper 80s to maybe even a couple of lower 90s out there. And then tonight, mostly clear skies, temperatures getting back into the 60s with a light east breeze. We got more of the KOAM Morning News right after this.
Coming up, authorities charge a man in relation to the bomb explosion near the Labette County Judicial Center.
An absolutely gorgeous start to the day across the area, but how long is it going to stay gorgeous and how hot is it going to get? The latest coming up.
And while preparing for the school year, the Seneca School District finds bats in the elementary school gymnasium.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's now 6:30. I'm Tanya Bach.
I'm Chris Warner. Just thinking about bats, that's something my grandmother used to say when she did something silly or thought she was going crazy. She always just said, well, I'm half bats. But it was how she said it.
I'm half bats.
Yeah. She's like, well, I'm just half bats. And it just always cracked me up as a kid. And the way she said it's this sweet older lady just saying she's half bats. And it just
Never heard that phrase.
I hadn't either, and it just kind of stuck with me. I can't say I've ever personally used it, but if you're ever feeling a little loopy one day, just be like, well, I'm half bats.
Well, it explains a lot, Chris.
If you guys could have met my entire family, you'd know a lot more and understand.
I've never met your grandma. I was referring to you.
No, that's what I'm saying, though. Like, if you were to meet all of them in one place, you'd understand a lot more. You would understand a lot more. I could tell stories all day. So why don't I tell this story?
Chris loves his family very dearly.
Oh, I do.
He's not speaking ill of that.
No, by no means. It's because of them. It's why I am the way I am. And it's not a bad thing.
And we love you, yes.
It's not a bad thing at all. It just makes for a very interesting Chris. It does. Drives the rest of the family a little crazy sometimes. But they enjoy it. I make my wife laugh all the time because that's all I do is I'm funny. I don't take things seriously unless you absolutely have to, because it doesn't do you any good to sit there and be serious and grumpy all day. You got to have fun.
So you're at least a quarter bats.
I'm at least a quarter
Okay.
bats, yes. At least a quarter. I'm sure in a few years I'll be at least half bats. So, our forecast, though, I can tell that story pretty well as well. Look at that sunrise, looking pretty good. 7th in range line. Temperatures looking really good to go along with it. 66 in Joplin. Cool spots still out west. 58 in Chanute and Fredonia and Fort Scott. 59 in Yates Center and Sedan. We got 66 Welch, 63 in Cassville. As kids get on the bus this morning, temperatures in the lower 60s when the bus comes to pick them up. Partly cloudy skies. Partly cloudy skies hanging around this afternoon, hitting about 87 by 3 o'clock, mid to upper 80s for most of us, maybe even a few lower 90s on the board as we go through the day. Temperatures tonight dropping back into the 60s under mostly clear skies. Some rain chances on the way. We're going to talk about all of that and take a look at your 7-day forecast here in just a few minutes.
All right. Sounds like fun.
Always fun.
All right. And we'll talk about bats.
We're going to be talking about bats.
A whole bunch of bats. All right.
Those bats are bats.
Yeah.
They're full bat.
All right, we do have a developing story out of Ottawa County, Oklahoma. Reports of a disturbance inside the Ottawa County Jail last night. Authorities tell us 3 pods were involved in a disturbance, which began as inmates were upset over interruption of phone service. Now, this occurred due to technical difficulties. After authorities dismissed several supporting police agencies, they were then called back when inmates set a trash can on fire. The fire was put out safely.
Friday, the electricity from the storm knocked out our phones and our kiosk in there, to where the inmates couldn't make phone calls or do video visits with people. So it's been kind of stressful for the past few days. Well, when we come in today, we start calling the companies that's supposed to get it fixed. Well, they wasn't able to get it fixed.
There were no reports of any injuries, but one man was transported to the hospital for unrelated reasons. Once again, this is a developing story, and we will continue to update it on our website, koamnewsnow.com. The decisive statewide Kansas vote in favor of abortion rights has been affirmed through a partial hand recount. 9 of the state's 105 counties, including Crawford County, conducted the recount. Voters on August 2nd rejected a ballot measure that would have removed protections for abortion rights from the Kansas Constitution and given the legislature the authority to further restrict or ban abortion. It failed by 165,000 votes statewide. After the recount, the side that supported the measure gained 6 votes. Those opposed to it lost 87 votes. Authorities charge a suspect for a bomb explosion in a dumpster in Parsons, Kansas last week. Officials charged 63-year-old James Sutton with arson and criminal use of explosives, among other charges. The explosion happened around 4:55 last Monday morning in a dumpster in a parking lot outside the Labette County Judicial Center. There were no reports of injuries. Well, as promised, our bat story. Empty school buildings this summer led one district to deal with some unwanted guests. KOAM's Jalen Banks shares with us how to keep bats out of your buildings.
Seneca Schools kicks off its school year tomorrow, and while prepping, they discovered some new winged friends.
Well, it seems like, we've had bats that move in and out. Like they'll come in, and then once there gets, during the summer when everything's closed down, lights are turned off, and it happens in a lot of gyms and a lot of facilities. And then once we start getting things back in and people are in the buildings and we're getting lights on, then they move out. But it just seemed like this year there was more than normal.
School didn't want to harm the bats, so they had them removed.
And we wanted to do it humanely. And it's not something that's easy to get rid of. So we want to do it humanely and safely. And bats are, just honestly, I've learned a lot about bats through this process, but they're an important part of our ecosystem, and being able to get them out of the building in a safe manner to where they can be relocated.
The Missouri Conservation suggests caulking crevices, holes, and cracks to keep bats out of the property. They said covering vents with thick cloths also helps.
Is you need to make it so the bats can fly out, but they can't fly back in. And this is all situationally specific, depending on what kind of hole they're getting in, out, and back in.
They also say there's no need to be afraid of the bats.
Bats have always kind of had a scary reputation. They hang out at night. They've become associated with Halloween and some of the things that scare us. So because of that, they have this eerie, this mysterious and scary reputation. They provide a lot of benefits for us. They eat mosquitoes and other flying insects. They eat a lot of moths that can lead to caterpillars, which can lead to farm pests for the following year. So they provide a lot of benefits for us.
In Seneca, Missouri, Jalen Banks, KOAM News.
To find more information on bats in Missouri or Kansas, you can go to our website at koamnewsnow.com. Well, today, back in 1989, Pete Rose gets booted from baseball as a punishment for betting on baseball. Cincinnati Reds manager Pete Rose accepts a settlement that includes a lifetime ban from the game. Heated debate continued to rage as to whether Rose, a former player who remains the game's all-time hits leader, should be given a second chance. Although gambling on a sport you play or coach is now considered unacceptable in nearly all levels of sport, it was relatively common among those connected with baseball in the early 20th century.
Yeah, you do not want to do things that are not right.
No.
You most certainly
Yes, that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm just, hey, words of wisdom at 6:30 in the morning.
Don't do things that aren't right.
That's exactly it.
Advice from Chris Warner in the morning.
That's why I'm a quarterback. Quick check of the 7-day forecast. You can see where we got a warming trend kicking in tomorrow. 95 Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday under sunny skies. Then we're watching storm chances by the weekend. They bring temperatures down a little bit, but we are watching those storm chances not only through the weekend, but into the start of the next work week.
That's a look at our top news stories. Coming up this half hour in the KOAM Morning News, we go all the way south to South Africa to learn how safaris, and I guess that would be a little west or east too, adjust for people's diets.
Plus, tattoos are a work of art. We're not bats in the morning, are we? Some people have them or want them, while others don't have them or don't want them. Now today we want to know if you have any tattoos. We're going to let you weigh in. We'll be right back.
Catering to food preferences and allergies is a vital part of the travel experience these days, no matter where you go in the world. Wendy Gillette traveled to Kruger National Park in South Africa to show how even safaris ensure guests get the meals they want.
This kitchen at Lion Sands Ivory Lodge in the Sabi Sands Game Reserve in northeast South Africa is under lock and key. It's kosher with 2 different sets of utensils for meat and dairy, and all prepared food conforming to Jewish dietary regulations.
So it's not a section in a kitchen that is kosher. It's actually a complete satellite kitchen that's fully equipped.
We got a special rate to see the workings of the kitchen with Timeless Africa Safaris, which caters to kosher guests.
We are a Jewish company, so the natural combination of pleasing and meeting all of our guests' needs was an easy match with having an understanding of the culture and the religion and all the diversity that it takes from being extremely kosher to kosher light.
She says that enables guests to forget about food concerns and immerse themselves in what they're here for, the wildlife.
We just came across this elephant. It's a male, about 40 years old.
Only about 5% of guests who book with Timeless Safaris are kosher, but about 95% have some sort of dietary request. For travel advisor Jim Bent, journeys used to be challenging for his family after his son Andrew was diagnosed with celiac disease 17 years ago.
We used to have a suitcase and we would pack it full of gluten-free food that you couldn't buy at the market because it just wasn't available in packaged goods. So we actually made all this food and traveled the world.
He offers a few tips for travelers with dietary needs. Let the hotel know in advance what you require. Meet with the chef if you're in a remote location, and try to get the same waiter at meals.
Today, it's a lot easier to manage traveling and dietary preferences that are out there.
So all you need to worry about digesting is the view. Wendy Gillette, CBS News, Kruger National Park, South Africa.
I would love to travel to the safari. A recent survey from Statista finds more than 4 in 10 Americans now follow some dietary rule. Other surveys show they figure as high as 6 in 10 Americans. Not me. I'll eat anything. That's it for Consumer Watch. Let's go over to Chris for our Something to Talk About.
Yeah, this morning we are talking about tattoos. Now, after a 2-year hiatus, more than 200 artists gathered at the Seattle Tattoo Expo. But for the people right here in the 4 states, of course, we got plenty of tattoo shops if you're interested in body art. Now, for a lot of folks, it's a personal form of self-expression. It's common to see tattoos that are portraits of loved ones, beloved pets, or even celebrities or musicians that may have touched a person's life. It's also common to see beautiful or interesting designs that are simply for aesthetic purposes. And then, of course, there's those whimsical ones and those other ones that make you go, what in the world? But to the owner, you can be sure it's got some significance. Our question to you, do you have any tattoos? So far, 62% of you say you don't. 38% of you say yes. Make sure you vote through our website, the app, and take part in discussion on Facebook. We got some birthdays and anniversaries to celebrate, but first we're going to check in with CBS in New York, see what's coming up on CBS Mornings.
I'm Tony DeCopel. Coming up on CBS Mornings, Tennis Hall of Famer John McEnroe will be here to get us ready for next week's U.S. Open and to talk about a new documentary about his life and career. That's coming up on CBS Mornings.
We take this time to honor today's 4-state hero, Roy Durfelt. Durfelt served in the Army from 1943 to 1946. He served at Iwo Jima, Japan, with the 557th Bomb Group. During his service, he earned 2 battle stars and many other medals. A native of Galena, Kansas, we thank you today's 4-state hero, Roy Durfelt.
It is now time for us to be celebrating some birthdays on this beautiful Tuesday morning, and we are beginning in Chautauqua with Brylan Midget turning 2 years old today. Brylan, very happy birthday to you.
And Carson Berger celebrating birthday number 3 this year in Pittsburgh. Hope you have a great day, Parson.
And we're heading over to Columbus where we've got Cole Watkins turning 7. So here's what happened. His birthday was on Saturday, but somehow we got the name of McCormick in there, and you know, it's one of those technical things, but his name's Cole Watkins, and he's turning 7 in Columbus. But here's the deal, Cole. Because of that, that means you get to celebrate, what is this, day 4 now? So you might as well just go ahead and celebrate your birthday the rest of the week, right?
That's right. Happy birthday, Cole. And Lainey Jo Saporito is 7 strong as well. And you know what? We didn't have her picture Friday, and we had her age wrong. We definitely had to re-air hers as well. Lainey Jo, 7. We got it right this time.
It was one of those things on Friday where it just was Friday, you know what I mean? So, but here's the deal. It opens the door for these fine young folk to get out there and celebrate all week long. That's what we're gonna do. We've also got Nia Imhoff turning 15 years old in Pittsburgh. Happy birthday, Nia.
And it's a sweet 16 for Garrett Mathis. Garrett is celebrating in Oronogo.
And Joplin High School sophomore Allie Krumzik turning 16 years old this year. Happy birthday to you.
Fred Robinson celebrating birthday number 58 this year, all the way out in Galesburg, Kansas.
And we've got Joyce Marker in Wyandotte celebrating birthday number 73. Happy birthday, Joyce.
Mary Owen turning 75 years old, young this year. And look at that throwback pic. That's pretty cool.
That's a fantastic.
Hope you have a great day, Mary, in Chanute.
And we're hanging out in Chanute where Matt and Shannon Vogel are celebrating their 25th wedding anniversary. That's a quarter of a century for those of you scoring at home. 25 years of wedded bliss. Happy anniversary to you, Matt and Shannon.
All right, well, it's the Bogle Day to celebrate because not only are Matt and Shannon Bogle celebrating 25 years, but David and Harriet Bogle in Thayer are celebrating 69 years together. Here they are pictured with 4 generations at their funeral.
4 generations. Absolutely incredible. Heading back to Columbus, we've got Sue Cook celebrating a birthday, as well as Caroline Covey turning 13 in Humboldt. And then back in Columbus, Jane Ann Turner turning 79.
And we've got Don Herter and Leanna Herter, both celebrating a birthday. Leanna is 27 and they are both in Chanute.
Good place to celebrate in Chanute.
A lot of parties in Chanute today.
Yeah, we got quite, that's 4 total parties in Chanute this day. Chanute's a happening place right now.
All right, if you have a birthday or an anniversary, you can email them to us. Don't forget the S on this one. Birthdays with an S at KOAMTV.com, or you can send them to birthdays@KOAMNewsNow.com.
And you know what else you can do while you're at our website, Tanya? What else can you do while you're there? You certainly can sign up for the KOAM Birthday Club. And if you haven't already, what are you doing? Get over to our website and sign up for the KOAM Birthday Club right now by going to KOAMNewsNow.com. You get some excellent deals from local vendors, all by signing up over there. Now, coming up when we switch over to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14, a store's beloved cat gets catnapped. We'll have what they're trying to do to get the cat back, but that is only if you hang out with us over on the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. All right, 7th and range line looking east-northeast. The sun coming up. Look at the colors in that sky. Don't they look lovely? Let me move out of the way and just soak that in. What a beautiful start to the day. Now, I want you to soak in these temperatures as well. Take a look at this. 66 in Joplin right now with obviously partly cloudy skies as we start the day. Monitoring cool spots out west. Man, I tell you, Fredonia, Yates Center, Chanute, and Fort Scott, and now even Sedan getting in on a chilly September-like start to this August morning. No need to change your calendar. You might want to double check it though. You're going to be doing a double take because it is still August. We've got 60s elsewhere across the 4 states. Still not a bad start anywhere today. As kids get on the bus, we're talking lower 60s as they hop on the bus this morning. And when that bus turns around, brings them back home from school, it's going to be about 87 come 3 o'clock as they disembark for the day. Now, for the rest of us today, we're talking highs in the mid to upper 80s, maybe even a couple of lower 90s out there under partly cloudy skies. Still dry with a light east breeze. Dry conditions continue tonight, remaining cool. Temperatures dropping back into the 60s under mostly clear skies, and light east breeze will eventually diminish for a while. The short-term future track just shows some of those partly cloudy skies, shows us how we're going to get warm. And here's some of those lower 90s I was talking about. So some of the places where it's a little bit cooler this morning, they're going to be a little bit warmer later today. It's interesting how Mother Nature works, isn't it? Now, the long range does show some warmer temperatures on the way, but it also shows by Saturday and into Sunday, we start to see scattered thunderstorm chances across the area. They don't knock the temperatures down a lot, but they do bring us some much needed rain even into Monday. And we're going to have some heat index values, but the good news is they're only going to be a degree or two above what the actual temperature is. So that's bearable. 95 Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 92 on Saturday and Sunday with increasing rain chances. More of the KOAM Morning News right after this. Look at that 7-day forecast, shows us warming up Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And then we're watching rain chances building in by the weekend. Not bad otherwise. Looking pretty good. The thing is there's some temperature discrepancies this weekend, which we'll keep an eye on through the week, where some of the models show us a little bit hotter than that. Some of them show us right around there. But one thing they all seem to agree on is increasing rain chances. We just need to get through today, which isn't going to be bad, but tomorrow, Thursday, Friday, we're talking mid to upper 90s in some places, so hot, sunny, and then it rains. So not bad. Not a bad way to wrap up the week, I suppose. Unfortunately, it just has to rain on the weekend. But at least we're getting the rain.
Yeah, that's right. At least we're getting the rain.
That's something we definitely need.
All right. Well, coming up today at noon, we're making bacon and cheddar deviled eggs in the Mr. Food Test kitchen.
All right. I can stick around for that. Your morning news, of course, continues on KOAM with CBS Mornings. Heavy rains have caused historic and deadly flooding in the Dallas area, prompting high water rescues. Coming up next on CBS Mornings, where the storms are headed and the impact they are having on travel across the country.
Or you can switch on over with us on Fox 14, where your only local morning news continues. And this morning, we've got Miranda Collins, a local author, back in the studio. And I'm excited to hear about what she has to say about how she took the steps to become an author and write her first book.
Yeah, but you're going to have to stick with us on the other side of things. Plus, while you're there, the family of a fallen officer slain in 2020 continues to get support from the officer's fellow officers. We'll have that story as well. That's going to wrap it up for us right now. Oh, look, here comes Ron. Ron's bringing things to the studio. Ron cooked that TV dinner with me when you were gone once. He had a good time with that, too. It was a good TV dinner. That will wrap it up for us for now here on the KOAM side of things. We'll see you back here tomorrow morning, and you know when. This many a.m.
Yes, and we're going to do it again today at noon.
Not that many.
This many.